welcome back to How to Happiness. It's nice to see you back. I hope you managed to have a look at the first couple of videos in this section, which is all about inner child. So in that first one we looked at how to connect with your inner child, so hopefully you did some work with that and got really in touch with your inner child. The second video was about recognizing the emotions and feelings and needs and wants of your inner child coming up in your everyday life, so that you have hopefully come to recognize that your inner child impacts on how you react and feel about the things that are going on in your life. So getting in touch with our inner child really gives us an insight into how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about things that are going on around us. And by being able to parent ourselves, we're able to get comfortable with what's going on around us, our feelings. We're able to acknowledge what's going on for us, and then we're able to then take care of those things, either quieten them down, give whatever is needed at the time, do some soothing, whatever. So hopefully you've been practicing some of that in the last week. Now what I'd like to talk about in this video, and it's really big and very exciting because it's about taking a little look back into the past and recognizing our inner child and some of the fears and anxieties, needs and wants that came up for our inner child back then and had an impact on the way that we have behaved, perhaps the things that we've chosen, the situations we've got ourselves in, and how we've reacted to them. So in doing this, as we look back, and we don't want to spend too much time doing that. However, in doing so, we are going to be able to let go of our past, because very often we keep a hold of our past and all the things that happened to us and all the reasons that we're like this and what happened that created that and all those things happened and so on. By letting go of a lot of these things, we're able to start anew. We're able to be whoever we really want to be from this point on, because we're going to let those things go. So it's a really powerful exercise that we're going to do now. Our exercise now is going then to look back into the past. We don't have to look at every single thing that has happened to us, and we don't want to spend too much time getting completely involved in all of those things. However, take a bit of a look back at some of those bigger things that went on for you in the past and see if you can recognize your inner child and some of the things that you've been experiencing with connecting with your inner child in these last couple of weeks. If you can see any of your inner child in those periods in your life. What we're going to be looking out for is some of the fears and anxieties that might have impacted on the way that we responded. Also, some of the ways that we may have got involved in situations that perhaps weren't so terribly healthy for us. When I did this work myself, I came to realize that a lot of the situations that I'd been in that had become quite unpleasant situations in the end they hadn't just been somebody else's fault. I couldn't just blame another person for behaving badly towards me or being unpleasant or being unloving or uncaring or ungenerous, because it had been me ultimately, us, that other person and myself, who had chosen each other. We had found what we thought we wanted within each other, and yet it was probably just a really basic need of my inner child to connect, to try and find a loving situation that had put me into situations that really weren't that healthy for me. So then it's very difficult for me then to not recognize that a lot of the things that have happened in my past have been my choice. They've been within it was within my capabilities to be doing something else or to not be in that situation. And then, having been in those situations, perhaps could have behaved completely differently if only I'd been parenting myself then and taking care of myself. But I wasn't. And that is just the point that I'm trying to make. Back then, when we didn't know about caring for ourselves, we didn't necessarily even think that we deserved really great caring and love. When we didn't recognize our fears and anxieties and needs back then, we allowed these situations to happen to us. And in this way, if we can look back at the things that have happened, recognize our own responsibility in those situations, how they came about and what aspects of them we were responsible for, then we can then forgive ourselves for the stuff that's happened. Because we didn't know back then that we needed to take care of ourselves. We kind of thought life just happened to us. But we know now that it doesn't. We choose these situations, and if we're not watching, if we're not parenting and taking care of ourselves, any old thing can happen, and any old person can turn up in your life, or any old situation, or even a job can turn up, or a bad car can turn up, because we allow it. Okay, so what we're getting at is that we are and have always been responsible for the things that happen in our lives. I'd just like to point something out while we're talking about responsibility. Responsibility can be something that we really want to avoid. We don't really want to say it was our fault that bad things happened in our past. And it will be a natural response, like a survival instinct, to say that it all just happened to us. However, the minute we take responsibility for the things that have happened to us and how much we were responsible for the things that happened, the situations we got into, how we've behaved, what we did. The wonderful thing about it is then we can honestly forgive ourselves for those things, and we can honestly look into the future and make choices for ourselves. Taking responsibility gives us freedom. It gives us choices. It helps us to understand that our life is our choice, and what it is and how it looks and how it works and how enjoyable it is our choice. So taking responsibility for the past is a wonderful way to get your hands on the future and make it yours. Our exercise then for this tutorial is to take a look back into the past. You might want to use your journal and write some things down. Try not to get too deep and too upset, but just try to recognize the elements which you can really take responsibility for in those situations, and see how you were driven by the needs and wants and fears and anxieties of your inner child, and how, because you didn't understand about parenting yourself and soothing yourself and helping you to deal with those situations, that bad things happened. And there we want to spend some time, having recognized these things about ourselves and our past. Spend some time forgiving ourselves for not being there for us, for not loving us enough then to take care of us, for not understanding what was going on, for not realizing our inner child was calling out to us when we needed them, when they needed us. And try to spend some time really giving love and forgiveness to ourselves. And you can do it perhaps within the visualization if you like, or within sort of a meditation, just to sit quietly by yourself and really try to feed yourself some love and forgiveness and care. Just like you would a child who's dropped something because they're still clumsy, their hands don't work properly yet, or they trip over. We didn't know. And now we do, and we want to say sorry, and we want to forgive ourselves for those mistakes that happened then. We just didn't know any better. So we're looking at our past, we're forgiving ourselves, and we're recognizing our responsibility in that past so that we can let it go. And then ultimately, that is the idea. We don't need to keep looking at the past anymore. We've forgiven it. We know how it went wrong. And we're working from this day on to try to do better for ourselves and take care of ourselves, parent ourselves, set boundaries for ourselves, give love to ourselves, and make our lives that much more stable and therefore that much more happy. Okay, so let's go through that end of tutorial business that we do. Don't forget to add some comments at the end, at the bottom of the page, so that other people can be inspired by the progress you've made. Also, it helps me to know that the way I'm communicating with you is working for you. You're understanding what I'm saying, and I'm getting all my points across, and you're getting it, and it's making changes for you, which is what it's all about. Check out the exercises. Check out the meditation. If you've got time to do some of the meditation, that'd be really great, because it's going to give you power to make the changes that we're looking for, and it will help support you while we go through this work. If you find you get a bit overwhelmed or get too unhappy or too sad about any of this work, stop and perhaps or take a break. If that doesn't sort things out and calm everything down, then maybe have a look on the website for some support that you might get while you go through this stuff. Ultimately, on the other side, be excited, because we're going to be happier and freer and lighter. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. There's one more to come.